Do you know that creeping feeling that you are spending your life permanently distracted? That you haven't finished a thought in weeks, maybe even months, and that every time you go to pause or rest, you grab your phone, you start the scroll, it's become a reflex. Before you know it, you've lost an hour, a morning, a day you'll never get back. Yeah, me too. You're back on That's Helpful with me, Ed Stott. And today I want to talk you through how after many failed attempts, I finally feel like I've managed to wrestle my attention back from social media, from distraction. I have done all the things that people tell you to do. If you Google it and you find a list of things that people will tell you to do to try and take back your attention, I've done them all. They don't work. But I feel like I finally found some things that do work through the knowledge I've gained from some of the world's leading experts right here on the podcast. I feel like I've cracked it finally, and it feels really good. And I want to share the formula with you too. No shame, no guilt, just practical, evidence-based steps and a little nudge of encouragement from me to you. I talk about this for a fair bit, and the more I do here with you on the podcast, with my friends, my family, the more I realize I'm not alone in this creeping feeling of permanent distraction. I feel like there's a cultural shift happening. And as some people are being drawn deeper into life online, more and more of us are choosing to reject it. We're done with the quick sugar hit that social media provides us. We want something that actually satisfies us, and nothing hits quite like being present in real life. Here are the 5 shifts that actually helped me take back control of my brain and reclaim my mind, so you can do the same. Okay, number 1, this was a huge realization for me and a really important starting place that I think was one of the things that kept tripping me up when I kept trying to do those things like social media timers or, the like default things that people will tell you to do if you're trying to spend less time online. Number 1, you are not the problem. The attention economy is. Let's start here. If you feel like you're addicted to your phone, it is not a personal failing. It is by design. And until you understand this, I mean, really understand this, like we get that these social media companies are making money out of us, but until you logically take yourself through the steps of their business model, I don't think it'll quite hit with you how much of this is not your fault. Until you address this, you're going to be caught in that same old negativity, guilt-fueled loop of trying and failing to take back your time. I used to feel like I was lazy, time-wasting, procrastinating when I couldn't stop picking up my phone during the day. Even if it was a deadline or something that I was really enjoying doing, I still felt that pull of my screen. What new notification might be waiting for me? I swear I have lost days this way. But the more I've learned about our brains and how big social media companies with billions of dollars at their disposal are figuring out how to exploit the caveman-like systems in our heads, the less guilty I feel. And the more able I am to make change rather than just feeling constantly like I'm a time-wasting idiot. So, we had a brilliant woman on the podcast called Annie Margaret. She's an assistant professor at the University of Colorado Boulder. She has a background in computer science and cognitive science, and she's really interested in how these systems are costing us our imagination and our creativity. She explains, I'm going to link to this episode in the show notes, by the way, so you can go back and have a listen because it's a game changer, how your attention is being extracted like oil. Every minute your eyes are on a screen, tech companies are making money. Your attention is the product and they will do anything to get it. To put this into perspective, Meta platforms, Facebook and Instagram, made $164.5 billion in revenue in 2024 alone. They employ more than 67,000 people, many of whom are paid very well to keep you scrolling. TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, employs over 150,000 people globally. Companies worldwide invest up to 30% of their marketing budgets purely into social media. That's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars spent each year to take your attention from you. And he also explained that our brains often get stuck walking the same muddy path. And this is what these social media companies rely on. It's neuroplasticity at work. When we keep doing the same thing, like picking up our phones when we're bored or uncomfortable, we're deepening that path. But, and here's the thing, we can build new paths. We can pause, redirect, and start walking in a new way, even if it feels unfamiliar at first. With repetition, that becomes the new default. The too long did not read is you are not lazy. Your brain is a simple system being hijacked by some of the wealthiest, smartest people and companies on the planet. But in all of this, there is another glaringly obvious point to be made here. If your attention is this valuable to billion-dollar tech companies, if it is literally bankrolling their entire business model, maybe it's time you started valuing it as much, right? YouTuber Casey Neistat put it best, and I see the irony here in quoting somebody who is also trying to grab your attention. But he put it best when he said, Steven Spielberg, the film director, doesn't post on Twitter all day because he's busy making movies. If you want to do deep, meaningful work or just be properly present in your actual life, you cannot afford to have your most valuable asset swindled away from you. Okay, number 2. Understand the hidden cost of distraction. It's not just your time you're giving up. Remember that before anything exists in the world, it is imagined. And if our imaginations are full of rage bait, beauty filters, and looping short form content, we lose our capacity to dream up something better. In Annie's words, we are in simultaneous crises right now, and our collective imagination is one of our most powerful tools for building a better world, but it's being colonized. Even when you're scrolling, social media lingers in your mind far beyond that scroll. It fragments your thinking, chips away at your focus, and warps your sense of reality, feeding your brain a steady drip of worst case scenarios. It deepens your inbuilt negativity bias because your feed is saturated with fear. Our parents' generation might have encountered a disturbing news story once a week, maybe on the nightly news or in the Sunday paper. Now we're exposed to hundreds of alarming, extreme, and emotionally charged examples of parenting disasters, political meltdowns, worst case scenarios, personal tragedies, every single day. Your brain can't tell the difference between real life and this endless doom scroll. And that's not just a metaphor. Neuroscience, including MRI studies, shows that when we imagine or observe something vividly, many of the same neural pathways are activated as when we experience it directly. So when you're constantly exposed to a stream of catastrophes, chaos, and curated drama, your brain starts encoding that as part of your lived experience. Over time, you begin to believe the world is what you see online. If we are permanently distracted and in a state of fight or flight, it is very hard to dream of something better, create a plan, and put that into action. Very hard if you are constantly distracted. So, how do we actually do something about it? Well, one of the most powerful things for me has been to redefine who I think I am. This one is sneaky and it's so powerful. We had a habit expert, Dr. Bree Hearn, on the podcast, and she talked about one of the most important things around building new habits and ditching old ones is identity. If you want lasting change, it's not about motivation. It's about being the kind of person who just does that thing. If you identify as someone who always scrolls Instagram when you wake up or spend their life on their phone, that's who you'll be. It's really hard to stop because we behave in line with who we are. But if you shift the story to I'm someone who doesn't use social media unless it's for work, or I'm someone who reads before bed, that shift creates friction. You're much less likely to reach for your phone because it doesn't match how you see yourself. And the research backs this up. Behavior that clashes with how you see yourself is less likely to stick. So it's really important that you redefine the identity in your head. And when you're having conversations with people or talking about yourself, you say things that back up that identity, because your subconscious is listening to you and it believes you when you say who you are, even if you don't even if you don't mean it. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? Okay, the other thing that's really helped me that Dr. Bree talked about was focusing on my 20% habits. I'd never heard this before, but it's been a game changer. So she introduced me to something called the 80-20 rule, or the Pareto principle, which made everything simpler. It's the idea that 20% of your habits are responsible for 80% of your results. So instead of overhauling your entire routine or becoming completely overwhelmed by trying to be a completely different person immediately who lives a completely different life, and that's just like not sustainable, focus on 1 or 2 tiny shifts that give big results to make everything easier. So, for example, the 20% habit that really worked for me was deleting Instagram on the weekends. That's all I did. Just that one change cut my overall screen time by 20% across the week. It made me less reactive to notifications when I did have the app on my phone. It showed my brain that I wasn't going to miss anything by spending less time on there, and it helped me reconnect with how I actually wanted to feel. Other 20% habits that helped: leave my phone on charge in another room, turning off every single notification except calls and texts, swapping my phone for a book before bed. That one improved my sleep, helped me unwind faster, and lowered the chance I'd get stuck into a doom scroll spiral before bed. Everything, even something as small as using a physical alarm clock instead of your phone, can shift your whole morning. You only have to introduce one tiny thing that has all these knock-on and ripple effects to get maximum bang for your buck. They are tiny habits with huge returns. Don't get overwhelmed trying to change everything at once. What's the 20% habit that you can start today? It could be tiny. Okay, the last game-changing thing for me, trying to get a grip on my screen time and trying to reclaim and refocus my attention, is to not rely on willpower. Don't rely on willpower. You have to put in place barriers that make the behavior harder to do. And this has been an absolute game changer for me. The simplest trick, so after doing deleting the app on the weekend, I felt more comfortable just like completely deleting the app. And that sounds ridiculous, it's just an app, but I did feel more comfortable deleting the app completely when I'm not using it. So when I'm not using social media for work, I do not have it on my phone. They're all gone unless I need to post for the podcast. If I need to post, I re-download it, post, and then delete it again. If you are somebody who is like locked into social media or really relies on it for your business, this may not work, but potentially you could introduce it in a smaller way. But for me, I only really post about the podcast a couple of times a week, so I just download it when I'm going to do that. So doing this, put in place all these barriers. So when I decided that I actually wanted to post something, I had to then go to the App Store, download the app, put in my password, then start posting. And in all these little gaps, the fact that it then took me like maybe 2-3 minutes to get onto Instagram, it gave me various points where I could actually ask myself, do I really want to be spending my time this way right now? And if I had to post something work, the answer was often yes. But it stopped that reflex of, I feel a bit bored, pick up my phone, scroll. Because every time I went to do that reflex, I thought, okay, I've got to download the app. And it's very intentional. There's a lot more intent behind that. It's not a reflex that you're just going to get sucked into and lose a whole morning. It really helped. It also made me realize that my phone is actually very boring once social media apps aren't on there. If you've ever taken your phone somewhere with no reception, you'll know what I'm talking about. There are only so many times you can check the weather app. Make the habit harder to do. Interrupt the pattern, because once the scroll isn't easy your brain starts to look for better ways to spend your time. And once you start spending your time in ways that are actually satisfying and bring you joy, you'll start to feel the sense that social media isn't giving you what you think it is, or what your brain tricks you into thinking it is. This is not about being perfect or never using social media again. It's about reclaiming your attention and intention and your life bit by bit. And if these billion-dollar companies see your attention as valuable enough to build their empires on, maybe it's time you treated it like the precious, limited, life-changing force it truly is. Presence is not a productivity hack. It is the whole point. When we stop outsourcing our attention, we start living in our lives, not beside them. That's where joy lives. In unperformative moments, in eye contact, in full body laughs, in the ordinary wonder of just being here. I promise you, it is more than enough. So don't spend your one precious life distracted by people and platforms that don't value you. Spend it creating and actively living in the world around you. I sincerely hope this has been helpful. If it has, forward it to someone who needs to hear it or might find it helpful. And if you're taking a break from the feed, maybe text them the link instead. I'm in Stott. I sincerely hope that's helpful.